chudang soki chognam la jam chubardu dagni katsuji dagi chunin pe sonam ki dola penche sangi drupa shu sangi chudang soki chognam la jam chubardu dagni katsuji dagi chunin pe sonam ki Drola penchir sangye drupa shu sangye cherdang soki chognam la jam tu bardu dagni kyam suchi dagi chunyen gi pe sonam gi drola penchir sangye drupa shu. Oh, you're still muted, Nick.
Sorry. Let's do a couple of minutes meditation on the breath. So I think, the purpose of my life is to lead all sentient beings from suffering to enlightenment. In order to do that, first I have to reach enlightenment myself. That depends upon completing the graduated path to enlightenment, especially the Mahayana path to enlightenment, following the Bodhisattva's actions. Therefore, I'm going to study his teachings on bodhicitta from Atisha's Lamp for the Path, the original lamrim text. In order to reach enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So particularly in the early Copan courses, Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to start the day's teachings with a quote from Shantideva's Bodhicharya Vitara, mainly the first chapter, the benefits of bodhicitta, and or Khunu Lama's precious lamp, verses in praise of bodhicitta. So he'd quote the verse and then give a shorter or longer explanation of it, and that would be the motivation for the day's activities. So I mentioned this before, but so we compiled all those quotations from Shantideva and Khunu Lama and Rinpoche's explanations in this little book, free book. I don't know if we have some at the center. Not that it matters, because people aren't going there.
I think we're out of them now. They were taken, which is good, but we're out.
Oh, I can bring some more over. Anyway, it's a great little book. So you can use this yourself to motivate, do some bodhicitta motivation for your day's activities each day. All right, so last week we got up to we finished verse 18, but I just want to go back. There's a couple of things that I wasn't quite prepared for to do. Just before, so I'm looking at Geshe Sonam Rinpoche's commentary. Also, I found another commentary which I printed out. This is Serkong Rinpoche gave a commentary on Atisha's Lamp for the Path, and that can be found at on Alex Berzin's excellent site. If you're not familiar with Alex Berzin's site, it used to be called the Berzin Archives, but now it's called Study Buddhism, studybuddhism.com. And our friend Therese Miller does quite a lot of work helping Alex, actually. I think editing stuff or like that. So so it's quite long. It's I forget how many pages it is, because the pages aren't numbered. But this much, which is probably 4/5 of the teaching, and Rinpoche is only up to verse 12. So then the last little bit, he finishes from verse 12 up to the end, which is 68 or 67, 68. So so Rinpoche spent a lot of time teaching on preliminary practices and stuff. So it's called I don't know, it was probably called A Lamp for the Path, and it's Serkong Rinpoche's teaching at studybuddhism.com. I don't know if somebody found it, you can put it in the chat. So just before Geshe Solam Rinchen goes into verse 12, he says, Atisha mentions, well, just before that, however, once we make a promise formally to, practice the Mahayana, to become enlightened, actually, I'll read the paragraph, sorry. When we're thoroughly familiar with such feelings of love and compassion, and with the altruistic intention, bodhicitta, we'll be ready to make the promise never to give up this intention until we attain enlightenment. So, that's really what we want. We want bodhicitta so deeply imbued in our mind that it'll be, it'll remain strong through at the time of death, and then, when we die, we can die with the thought, may I be reborn wherever I can be of greatest benefit to the most number of to the greatest number of sentient beings. And then, hopefully in our next life, our bodhicitta will be strong and bring us to another perfect human rebirth, and we'll keep progressing until we reach enlightenment. Never give up bodhicitta until we attain enlightenment. Merely a strong wish to become enlightened for the sake of others doesn't entail any commitments. However, once we make the promise formally, we commit ourselves to observe the precepts associated with aspiring altruistic intention. So these aren't the bodhisattva vows that we went through. This is still to do with aspiring bodhicitta. So the vows come with engaging bodhicitta. When we actually take the bodhisattva vows formally. So Atisha mentions 5 of these precepts in the verses that follow. So the 5 precepts were kind of buried in the commentaries. So I went back and just underlined them. So verse 12 says, the qualities of developing such an aspiration are fully explained by Maitreya in the Array of Trunks Sutra. So the Array of Trunks is the final chapter of this amazing work. Show you how thick it is first. The Flower Ornaments Scripture, translated by Thomas Cleary, or the Flower Adornment Sutra. So this is kind of the classic Mahayana text. And, the King of Prayers, Samantabhadra, the vow of Samantabhadra comes from this text. I think we read it. We read an excerpt of it earlier in the piece. I forget which book it's in. It's in one of Geshe Sonam Rinpoche's books anyway. So the final chapter of this is called Here Entry into the Realm of Reality. It's the and it tells the story of Suddhodana, the always Bodhisattva, always crying. So his story is also told in the final chapter of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra in 8,000 lines. So I don't know what the relationship between those, that sutra, Perfection of Wisdom Sutra in 8,000, and Flower Adornment Sutra, the Avatamsaka. So this sutra, sutra, the entry in the final chapter, chapter 39 of the Flower Adornment Sutra, contains 200 benefits. It mentions 200 benefits of bodhicitta, and I was looking for them, but I couldn't find them. Luckily for you. So, but I don't know if you're familiar with the 84,000 project, where translating the words of the Buddha. I think it might be 84,000.com. They've got a translation of this entry into the realm of reality sutra, or it's called the Array of Trunks, or the Array of Stems. Berzin calls it the sutra spread out like a tree trunk. Anyway, there's the Ganda Vyuha in Sanskrit. So here, Soka Rinpoche says it describes the benefits of developing bodhicitta with more than 200 examples. In the compendium of training, the Shiksa Samuccaya, this Shantideva's so-called other text, it describes 16 examples or analogies of the benefits of developing the enlightened motive of bodhicitta. So if we were to begin to describe all the benefits, there'd be no end. So in the future, ask many good Geshis about this and learn about it, as it'll be very beneficial to everyone's practice. So as it happens, as I mentioned, I recently got this, Charles Goodman's translation, published by Oxford University Press, the Shiksa Samuccaya, the training anthology of Shantideva. So I found those 16 examples there. So he says, the noble array of stalks, so stalks or trunks, or the Ganda Vyuha. It praises the awakening mind, bodhicitta. Noble sir, the awakening mind is the seed of all the qualities of a Buddha. It is a field in which all the bright qualities of living beings can grow. Like the earth, it supports the whole world. Like a father, it protects all bodhisattvas. Like the god of wealth, it puts an end to all poverty. Like the king of wish-fulfilling gems, it causes all goals to be fully accomplished. Like the magic wishing vase, it causes all intentions to be fulfilled. Like power, it defeats the enemy, the reactive emotions. Like armor, it shields against inappropriately directed attention. Like a sword, it cuts off the heads of the reactive emotions. That's what we call delusion. Like an axe, it cuts down the tree of the reactive emotions. Like a weapon, it protects against all harms. Like a fish hook, it takes you up out of the water of cyclic existence. Like a tornado, it tears up and scatters the grass of the distortions and hindrances to attention. Like a summary, it collects together all of a bodhisattva's practices and aspirations. It is like a holy shrine for the worlds of gods, humans, and titans. Noble sir, the awakening mind is endowed with these advantages, and it also has innumerable other special advantages and virtues. So this book is basically, there are 6 main sections according to each of the 6 perfections. Okay, so that's that. So the first of the 5 precepts is repeatedly thinking. So this is to do with aspiring bodhicitta. Repeatedly thinking about the many benefits of the altruistic intention as a source of inspiration is the first precept. So, we could also read, Rinpoche's Nectar of Bodhicitta, and we could also read, I don't know where it is, Khunu Lama's Verses in Praise of Bodhicitta. If you read, I think there are 333, so almost one for each day. So if we were to read one verse of Khunu Lama every morning and think about that and motivate our day accordingly, that'd be, an amazing thing to do. Repeatedly thinking about the many benefits of bodhicitta. So then the verse 13, he says, Atisha says, having learned about the infinite benefits of the intention to gain full enlightenment, by reading this sutra or listening to a teacher, arouse it repeatedly to make it steadfast. So he's talking about the Ganda Vyuha, the array of trunks. But then Geshe Solam Rinpoche's commentary says, it's important to understand fully just how powerful the altruistic intention is. We must read about it extensively in sutras and in books like Asanga's Bodhisattva Stages. So this one, the Bodhisattva Bhumi. Another thick one. And strengthen it by consciously arousing it 3 times during the day and 3 times during the night. This is the second precept. And it's like keeping a fire going by stoking it at regular intervals. So always constantly bringing it to mind and reading about it in books, bodhicitta. Then verse 18, having developed the aspiration for enlightenment, constantly enhance it through concerted effort. To remember it in this and also in other lives, keep the precepts properly as explained. So that's Atisha, the commentary. Unless we create a strong store of positive energy, our altruistic intention may decline. We can prevent this by continually thinking of ways to help others and by using every opportunity to create merit. This is the third precept. So always think how we can help others. Then the fourth precept is never to give up living beings, not even a single one. So it's very easy to disparage others. And finally, so then observing the first four precepts help us to maintain the altruistic intention in this life. To ensure that we will also have it in future lives, we practice the fifth precept, which is to refrain from the four negative activities and cultivate the four positive ones. Remember, we went through them. So we read what those were here. So just to refresh our memory, I'm going to look at Serkong Rinpoche's explanation of these. So Tenshav Serkong Rinpoche says, just to go over what we just did a little bit. Furthermore, once we've developed such an enlightened motive, it's extremely important to make it increase and grow even stronger. For this, we need to build up a great deal more positive potential, merit. We do this with the four trainings for our development of bodhicitta, not to decline in this lifetime. So then this is how he explains these 5 precepts of aspirational bodhicitta. So, similar to what we just did. The first thing we do in order to enhance our bodhicitta motivation is to remember the benefits of having such an attitude. Secondly, to reaffirm our development of it by generating again 3 times each morning, 3 times each evening. Thirdly, we should make as many offerings as we can to the triple gem, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, also to our parents or various members of the monastic community. The Dharma, the teachings always emphasize how powerful our parents are in terms of being objects with whom we can create merit or with whom we can create negative karma. I think it kind of goes gurus, Buddhas, bodhisattvas, parents, arhats, something like that. But the parents are up there. So making offerings to our parents or the Sangha, offering them food and drink, things like that. That's extremely beneficial. It's beneficial as well to make offerings to various invisible spirits that are around us with crumbs of biscuits and things like that. We should also give help to the poor and needy and those who are sick. Likewise, even putting out sugar on the ground for the ants to eat is extremely beneficial. So Rinpoche, Lama Zopa Rinpoche has found a few ant nests on his retreat property in Washington. And there's even a little booklet I think the FPMT have put out called Offering to the Ants. Anybody seen that?
I think charity to the ants, I think it's called.
Yeah, charity to the ants. Yeah. So that's pretty easy. Also might stop them coming in the house. So then the fourth one is we should never give up on anybody and decide not to work for this being's sake. We should never give up on anyone. So these are the 4 trainings Atisha refers to in verse 18, which we just read. Having generated the aspiring states of bodhicitta, ever enhance them with many efforts. and to be mindful of it in this and other lives too, thoroughly safeguard as well as the trainings, thoroughly safeguard as well the trainings explained in the texts. So this the fifth piece of advice, that we should rid ourselves of the 4 types of murky behavior, Alex calls it murky, for not losing our bodhicitta motive and aim in future lives. So we mentioned these briefly last week, so just to repeat them. The first of these murky, literally black, actions would be to purposely confuse or deceive our parents, our teachers, our spiritual masters, or our gurus. The second is to have ulterior motives other than the enlightening motive of bodhicitta. That makes it sound like bodhicitta is an ulterior motive. In other words, to have ulterior motives other than the exceptional resolve, and to have a pretentious and deceitful attitude towards others. The third of these negative actions is to cause others to regret the positive actions they've done. And fourth is to criticize or say bad things about a bodhisattva. So, you know, as I always say, we never know who's a bodhisattva and who's not. So it's better not to harm or not to say bad things about anybody. The opponents to these are their opposites: 4 lustrous, literally white actions, these 4 positive actions. As for the first, we should never deceive or confuse or tell lies to our parents, teachers, and spiritual masters. The second is that we should never be pretentious or have deceitful attitudes towards others. Rather, we should always try to recognize everyone as our teachers. The opponent, third one, the opponent to causing others to regret the constructive actions they've done is to try to lead everyone towards developing love, compassion, and the enlightening motive of bodhicitta. And the fourth is that we should see everyone in a pure appearance. In other words, we should never criticize and say bad things about others. Okay, so to move on. Verse 19. Without the vow of the engaged intention, perfect aspiration will not grow. Make effort definitely to take it, since you want the wish for enlightenment to grow. Restraint from the black actions and cultivating the white ones, these just 8 we just did, stop the altruistic intention from declining. But enlightenment isn't gained simply by cherishing the wish for it. We must train in the extensive activities of bodhisattvas and should not hesitate to take the vow associated with the engaged altruistic intention, nor to embark on these activities once our aspiration to attain enlightenment becomes sufficiently firm. For this will further strengthen it. Unless we take this step, it will not grow. So remember, there are 2 kinds of bodhicitta: the aspirational bodhicitta, which we've just been dealing with, and there's the engaged bodhicitta, where we take the bodhisattva vows. that we went through in some detail. What foundation do we need? From whom should we take the vow? How should it be taken? Verse 20. Those who maintain any of the 7 kinds of individual liberation vow have the ideal prerequisite for the Bodhisattva vow, not others. The text tells us that those who maintain any of the 7 kinds of individual liberation vow, from those of the layperson to those of the fully ordained monk or nun, are ideally qualified to receive the vow. So, the very minimum is to have taken refuge, but ideally at least the 5 lay vows. So I just see there's a footnote here. So I think I'll go through this. It's good to know. There are 8 kinds of individual liberation vow. So the commentary says 7 types of liberation vow. In the footnote says there are 8. So the footnote, I see. So Atisha has omitted the vow of one who remains nearer. So that's Nyenne. So these are Mahayana precepts, the 24 hours. Okay. Atisha has admitted the vow of one who remains nearer, through which one draws closer to liberation. It is taken for only 24 hours at a time. So these are, the 8 precepts we always do, and is therefore not considered equal to the others as a basis for the Bodhisattva vow. It consists of restraint from killing, stealing, lying, and sexual activity. So those are 4. And one may not use 5, high or fancy seats. 6, intoxicants. 7, eat after midday. 8, wear garlands, jewelry, perfume, make music, dance, or sing. Out of attachment. This vow is taken by laypersons. Actually, it's also taken by monks and nuns. Well, the Mahayana precepts are I don't know if there's a version that you take for 24 hours without bodhicitta. That doesn't make it the Mahayana precepts. And therefore, monks and nuns, once you've taken 36 precepts or the full, 263 or 364 of the fully ordained Sangha, you're not allowed to take the 5 lay precepts. You're not allowed to go back and take lesser vows. But when monks and nuns take the 8 precepts, because they're taken with bodhicitta motivation, they're allowed to do that. So that's, well, we call them the 8 Mahayana precepts. So maybe there's a version that doesn't involve taking them with bodhicitta, I'm not sure. The 2nd and 3rd kinds of individual liberation vow, which are also taken by laypersons, are the vow of one close to virtue for men and women. Genyen Kidompa. Virtue here refers to nirvana, the vow of one close to nirvana. Both men and women vow to observe restraint from killing, stealing, lying, sexual misconduct, and from the use of intoxicants. The remaining kinds of individual liberation vow are taken by those who leave family life behind. Rely on an abbot, give up the signs of lay life, adopt the signs of ordained life, and ensure that they do not deviate from these three forms of conduct. Three forms: relying on an abbot, giving up the signs of lay life, and adopting the signs of ordained life. The fourth and fifth kinds are the vows of those entering the path to virtue. It's the Getzal, the novice vows. They involve restraint from killing, stealing, lying, sexual activity, making music, dancing, singing, wearing garlands, accepting silver or gold with the intention of keeping them, taking food after midday, using ornate seats or high seats. So those are 10 vows that they aren't actually what we normally understand as novice vows. The novice vows are usually 36, novice monks and novice nuns. But there's a set of 10 vows just mentioned here that I think, and for a while, they were the only vows that women could take in Thailand. The women weren't allowed to become nuns. I think it's changing now. And there was also, I'm not sure if we did that in the FPMT, but there were certain Tibetan traditions where you took these 10 vows before actually becoming a novice monk or nun with the 36 vows, and you wore white, shaved your head, and you wore white clothes. You didn't wear the maroon. His Holiness also talks about these vows here in Illuminating the Path. I think this is too much to go into that as well at this point. The sixth individual liberation vow is the vow of a female trainee in virtue. In preparation for becoming a fully ordained nun, she must hold the vow of a novice nun and in addition practice restraint from the 12 activities for 2 years. She must not, 1, travel unless accompanied by someone who observes a similar code of discipline. 2, swim naked across a big river to reach the other side. Maybe a small river's okay, I'm not sure. Touch a man, sit on the same seat as a man, act as a matchmaker, hide the transgressions of a female friend, own gold or other valuables, shave her pubic hair, eat what has not been given to her, eat food she has saved, not allowed to do that, cut green grass and dispose of bodily excretions indiscriminately, or 12, dig the earth. So this is a set of vows for female trainees. The seventh and eighth kind are the vows of those who strive for virtue, Gelong or Gelongma. A fully ordained nun must refrain from 364 activities, a fully ordained monk from 253. Okay, so that's that footnote. So the text tells us that those who maintain any of the 7 kinds of individual liberation vow are ideally qualified to receive the Bodhisattva vow. Those who are determined never again. So often in the Kopan courses, at the end of the course, the lamas would give refuge and, a Dharma name to anybody who hadn't taken refuge before, and they would offer the 5 lay precepts, and often Lama Yeshe would also give the Bodhisattva vows. Those are really amazing days there. We just finished an intensive 1-month lamrim course, and then everybody was in such a great mood, and then the lamas gave refuge and lay vows and bodhisattva vows. It's, they're really special times. Those who are determined never again to perform any of the naturally unwholesome actions from which holders of the individual liberation vow too must refrain are also suitable. So these natural negativities, so-called, these are negative whether you've taken a vow or not. They're like the 10 harmful activities, what we call the 10 non-virtues, right? Killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, use of harsh language, divisive speech, idle gossip, covetousness, ill will, and wrong views. They're faulty by nature because they bring suffering, and not because they are proscribed by a particular code of discipline. So, there's 2 kinds of negativities. Natural negativities like those, and negativities, actions that are negative because you've taken a vow not to do them. This answers Changchub Er's 3rd question. He was Changchub Er who invited Atisha to Tibet. His 3rd question, as to whether or not one needs to hold the individual liberation vow in order to receive the Bodhisattva vow. It is not essential, but we must recognize that unless our way of life is ethically disciplined, we cannot really hope to observe the Bodhisattva vow or help others effectively. Changchub Er's 4th question is whether any kind of individual liberation vow one holds becomes the Bodhisattva or Tantric vow when one or both of these have been received. The individual liberation vow and the Bodhisattva vow are distinct in that the former is a commitment for this life and is held until death. The pranimoksha vows. While the latter, the Bodhisattva vow, is a commitment made until the attainment of enlightenment. We retain our individual liberation vow when we take the Bodhisattva vow and Tantric vows and must observe them all. But if we don't transgress the Bodhisattva vow in such a way as to lose it, we still hold it in our next rebirth. But unless we actually take the vow again, actions which would normally count as transgressions of the vows will not do so, since we're not conscious of holding it. So once we've taken the Bodhisattva vow, it remains in, unless we've broken it and not restored it, it will remain in our mind, subconscious, I guess you'd say, in our next life. but we can't break the bodhisattva vows because we're not aware. Verse 21, the Tathagata spoke of 7 kinds of individual liberation vow. The best of these is glorious, pure conduct, said to be the vow of a fully ordained person. In the context of ethical discipline, the Buddha spoke of 7 kinds of individual liberation vow, which is superior to the preceding. The vow of a novice is superior to that of a layperson, and that of a fully ordained monk or nun superior to that of a novice. According to the ritual described in the chapter on discipline in the bodhisattva stages, take the vow from a good and well-qualified spiritual teacher. Understand that a good spiritual teacher is one skilled in the vow ceremony, who lives by the vow and has the confidence and compassion to bestow it. From what, then the commentary, from what kind of teacher should the bodhisattva vow be taken? From one who is skilled in performing the ritual, in explaining how to keep the vow, and in restoring it when it's been damaged. This indicates that spiritual teachers who bestow the vow should be knowledgeable about all aspects of it and maintain excellent ethical discipline themselves by properly observing it. They should be kind-hearted, compassionate, and confident that they can bestow it. We shouldn't take the vow from anyone without examining whether they fulfill the qualities required of an authentic spiritual teacher. How many teachers of this kind are there today? Few enough people in the world are even interested in spiritual practice, yet fewer actually practice, while those who have knowledge, confidence, kind-heartedness, and who also observe ethical discipline as described above are rare indeed. Has Geshe Tenli given bodhisattva vows? And I guess Geshe used to give it from time to time. You know, not only in initiations. The teacher who bestows the vow should be genuinely motivated by compassion, not just satisfied with bestowing the vow and then letting those who have received it loose to fend for themselves like a herd of cows. He or she must fully instruct the students on how to keep the vow and be skilled in helping them purify major or minor infractions created under the influence of the disturbing emotions. The combined effort by student and teacher is required. Before giving the bodhisattva vow, His Holiness the Dalai Lama often explains the 18 major and 46 minor infractions according to Chandra Goman's 20 verses on the bodhisattva vow. So, so this one. So this is also translated by Ruth Sonam, Geshe Sonam Rinpoche's commentary. So I've said a number of times, they put together some really great books. So, His Holiness, as I mentioned, has given Bodhisattva vow a number of times via Zoom over the last 2 or 3 years. And I think you can take the Bodhisattva vows from him by going back to one of those previous times. I don't think you have to do it live. but I don't remember him giving that extensive commentary on the 18 root and 46 branch vows. Anybody remember that?
In the most recent book from the Library of Wisdom and Compassion that Thupten Chodron has been compiling his teachings, it does include commentary on all the vows. Not extensive though, but it goes through each one individually.
Yes, so that's I hadn't noticed that. Which volume?
The most
6 or
recent
7.
volume, I think it's, I have to check the name.
Yeah, anyway, that's an amazing series of books published by Wisdom. The transgressions and commitments related to tantric vows are not explained beforehand because the explanation of tantric vows can only be given to initiates, people who've taken the vows. So in the past, some people got quite annoyed that the lamas wouldn't explain tantric vows before they took. They felt they were being suckered. But the first time a lot of us at Kopan took the tantric vows was when we went to Bodh Gaya in January 74. His Holiness was giving a Kala Chakra initiation, and we received the tantric vows as part of that. And then when we got back to Kopan, Lama Yeshe gave a commentary on the tantric vows, which I've been carrying around for nearly 50 years, wanting to edit it and make it more widely available. One of the issues is the tapes have been lost, so I can't check the transcript. But so much to do, so little time. But in the case of the Bodhisattva vow, we can find out what is involved and consider it carefully, whether we're ready. Out of their immense kindness, our spiritual teachers clearly and carefully explain how to observe the vows. For our part, we must actually try to do it. In his letter to a friend, Nagarjuna says that just as the earth supports everything animate and inanimate upon it, ethical discipline is the basis for all good qualities associated with the lesser and the great vehicles. For people who are able to maintain good ethical discipline, taking vows is a source of happiness now and in the future. For others who treat the whole matter casually and transgress the code of conduct they've promised to observe, it brings only suffering. So, Lama Yeshe used to call living in precepts as being in the peaceful prison. He used to go like that. So these are bars, prison bars. So he called it a prison, peaceful prison, because you put yourself into this prison that constrains your activities to restrain, it protects you from creating negative actions and encourages you to create positive actions. So it kind of put you on the rails so that you don't. And it's, people think, oh, I vow not to do this, I vow not to that. It's limiting my freedom. We hear a lot about freedom these days. Limiting our freedom. actually it's freedom, because you make a decision once and for all not to kill, for example. So then you're free from having to make that decision again. You've already decided. So there's never a question, shall I or shan't I, you know? Will I or won't I? You've already decided. You're free not to kill for the rest of your life. So, you know, peaceful prison, you go like that. There's a teaching on peaceful prison on our website, I think, lamiashi.com. You might have been in Mandala, in one of the Mandala magazines. How is the Bodhisattva vow taken? We may take it in the presence of a spiritual teacher or on our own. In the first case, the preparation, actual bestowal, and conclusion are performed in accordance with the ritual described in the chapter on ethical discipline in Bodhisattva stages, which His Holiness follows when he bestows the vow. If we listen well and try to follow his instructions, everything we need to do and think is clearly described. There are also simple versions. Simple versions. It's possible to take the Bodhisattva vow by reciting the commonly used verse of taking refuge and arousing the altruistic intention. So we did that 6 times already today, didn't we? In the Buddha's Dharma, Sangha, I go virtue until I'm enlightened by practicing virtue and other perfection. That one, and then the one we do before teaching by listening to teaching and other perfections. So that one, Sangye Chodan, Sogi Chonan La. So that's possible to take the vow by reciting that verse 3 times and arousing not just the words, but, you know, feeling the refuge and feeling the compassion and bodhicitta. A verse from the 3rd chapter of Shantideva's Engaging in the Bodhisattva Deeds may also be used. We first call upon our spiritual teachers, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, to act as witnesses. And then we say, just as the Buddhas of the past aroused the altruistic intention and by stages practice the training of Bodhisattvas, I too, for the good of all living beings, arouse the altruistic intention, and likewise shall practice by stages the training of the Bodhisattvas. So I think that's the one we do in the Guru Puja, when we similar to that, where we normally the Guru Puja doesn't include taking the Bodhisattva and Tantric vows, but out of his great wisdom and compassion, Lama Zopa Rinpoche has inserted those into the Guru Puja. So actually Rinpoche has inserted a lot of things into the Guru Puja. That's why it's called a combined Lama Chöpa and Jorcha. Jorcha means preliminary practices. So in the early days at Kopan, the Western monks and nuns, you know, after this Kala Chakra initiation in 74, a bunch of us went back to Kopan. Probably 12 or 15 of us there for the next year or 2. And, you know, we had our own little Western monastic community, and we used to come together to do puja in the mornings. The puja we did was called the Jorcha, the preliminary practices puja. And Rinpoche gave teachings on that during the 7th meditation course. I was his assistant for that course. It was in the fall of 74, and up till then, most of the courses he'd been assisted by a Canadian nun, Anne McNeil. But when the Lamas went to Australia in '74, they took her with them, and left her there to develop as the first director of Chenrezig Institute, which was really the first center in the West. And so then they came back to do the 7th course, and I got the job. So all the Western monks and nuns and a lot of the older lay students. So the course was held in this big tent in the back because there were too many people came to the course, like 200 people. So there were too many for the Kopan Gompa, for the shrine, for the temple, the shrine room there. But then Rinpoche would give special teachings to the old students on the Jorcho practice, and then I had to be out the back in the tent with the new students. So I was really pissed. I was missing these incredible teachings for the advanced students, you know, and I had to kind of babysit all these hippies. But actually, it was a very precious opportunity. Anyway, they taped and transcribed those teachings. Well, I don't know that we've ever published them. Okay, so there are simpler verses. So that's a more simple way of taking the Bodhisattva vows. And, you know, we can do it ourselves by doing the Sangye Chodam. But you need to have taken the vows from a teacher first. You can't just, you have to get the oral transmission. It doesn't say that, but I'm pretty sure. Well, maybe it depends on circumstances. If we decide to take the vow, we should make an effort to find a properly qualified spiritual teacher to bestow it. But we may live in a remote place where this is impossible, or we may not be able to reach such a teacher because the journey is dangerous. So Atisha says, verse 24, however, in case you try but cannot find such a spiritual teacher, I shall explain another correct procedure for taking the vow. I shall write here very clearly, as explained in the ornament of Manjushri's Buddha Land Sutra. So Manjushri's Buddha Land Sutra, I'm not familiar with it. Yeah, so this, yeah, I don't know anything about that. This 84,000 project, which I think is basically organized, sponsored by Dzongsa Khyentse Rinpoche. They've already translated many, many sutras. It's like an amazing project. And so the Ganda Vyuha, you know, the entry into the realm of reality sutra is there, where, you know, this one where the 200 benefits of bodhicitta are explained or given. So if you've never read sutras, they're, well, you know, we do the Heart Sutra every time, but the longer sutras are really amazing. Geshe Tsulga once gave us the oral transmission of the Perfection of Wisdom in 8,000 lines. Remember that? Took quite a while. I can't remember exactly how long, but it's kind of a big deal. A lot of Tibetans came as well. So just again, in case you try to take the Bodhisattva vows, but to find a teacher, but you can't find one, I'll explain another correct procedure for taking a vow. I shall write here very clearly, as explained in the ornament of Manjushri's Buddhaland Sutra, how long ago, when Manjushri was Ambaraja, he aroused the intention to become enlightened. So, commentary. We can also take the vow ourselves, following the example of Manjushri in a former life when he was a universal monarch called Ambaraja. The promise he made is contained in a sutra called The Ornament of Manjushri's Buddhaland, which describes the features of that Buddhaland. We begin by arranging representations of enlightened body, speech, and mind. So, statue, text, and stupa. And then, imagining Buddhas and Bodhisattvas before us, we perform the 7-part practice and arouse the altruistic intention. So, we do the 7 limbs, prostration, offering, confession, rejoicing, requesting, beseeching, dedicating. We spent quite a bit of time on those. We do that 7-part practice and arouse the altruistic intention. In the present, verse 26, in the presence of the protectors, I arouse the intention to gain full enlightenment. I invite all beings as my guests and shall free them from cyclic existence. Why do we arouse the altruistic intention? Why do we want to take the Bodhisattva vow? Because we intend to invite limitless living beings to a great feast of happiness. The happiness of freedom from bad rebirths, from cyclic existence, from the obstructions created by the disturbing emotions, and from the obstructions to knowledge of all phenomena, gross and subtle obscurations. We wish to give them every kind of temporary and ultimate happiness. Verse 27, from this moment onwards, until I attain enlightenment, I shall not harbor harmful thoughts, anger, avarice, or envy. We vow from commentary, we vow from now till we attain enlightenment, not to allow ourselves to be dominated by these 4 states of mind. Harmful thoughts, anger, avarice, greed, or envy. Harmful thoughts of wanting to kill, mutilate, or in any way injure others arise from thinking in one or more of the following 9 ways. We may think, this person has harmed me in the past, is harming me now, and will harm me in the future. He has harmed those close to me in the past. He's harming them now and will harm them in the future. He has helped my enemies in the past. He's helping them now and will help them in the future. So those are the 9 ways we can arouse the thought, any one of those 9 ways to harm others. Anger arises when so those are harmful thoughts. Anger arises when our self-interest is thwarted. Anger arises when we are intent on hoarding and cannot let go of our possessions. Envy results from our inability to bear others' prosperity. Wouldn't it be wonderful to vow restraint from such emotions? These verses are making me thirsty. 28. I shall cultivate pure conduct, give up wrongdoing and desire, and with joy in the vow of discipline, train myself to follow the Buddhas. This verse expresses the intention to observe ethical discipline in general. Pure conduct can be taken to refer specifically to restraint from sexual activity. However, it can also refer to conduct in keeping with the attainment of liberation. We vow to give up wrongdoing and its causes, especially attachment to sense objects, sights, sounds, smell, tastes, and tactile sensations of the past, present, and future. To give up wrongdoing and its causes, especially attachment to sense objects. Whether a dog's stomach is full or empty, it is always preoccupied with food. When we hope to practice, we need certain amenities, but our attachment to sense stimuli is so strong that whether we have what we need or not, our craving keeps us busy and makes it difficult to avoid faulty actions. Here we affirm our wish to observe the ethical discipline of restraint from faulty action and to take joy in training ourselves in accordance with what the Buddha taught. Next verse. I shall not be eager to reach enlightenment in the quickest way, but shall stay behind till the very end for the sake of a single being. This verse expresses our resolve to observe the ethical discipline of working for others. We vow not to attain enlightenment until the needs of all living beings are fulfilled and promise to remain in cyclic existence for the good of even a single being. Such an attitude is called the shepherd-like altruistic intention, because we're determined to take care of others like a shepherd who follows his flock. This may seem strange, since we know that we cannot help others in the fullest way until we ourselves are enlightened. The paradox is that if we are free from self-concern and courageous enough to bear any hardships that arise in our work for others, we automatically move closer to enlightenment. So there are these three types of practicing bodhicitta that are mentioned. There's the shepherd-like bodhicitta, just mentioned here, where the shepherd follows the flock to make sure everybody's okay. So checking from behind, and kind of pushing everybody forward towards enlightenment. Then there's the, I think it's called the oarsman-like bodhicitta, where you row the boat with all the sentient beings in it. So everybody moves to enlightenment together. And then there's the, what's it called, king-like? Where you lead from in front. You move ahead as quickly as you can to enlightenment and bringing everybody else with you. Maybe we should call it the Pied Piper bodhicitta, where you're leading all sentient beings to enlightenment. Anyway, you get the idea. leading from behind, leading from the middle, leading from in front. So, the purpose of Tantra is kind of quite contradictory to this. That's, where we want to reach enlightenment as quickly as possible, because we can't bear that sentient beings have to suffer any longer. And only by being enlightened can we really benefit to the ultimate degree. So we want to practice Tantra in order to reach enlightenment as quickly as possible. But the paradox here, he's saying that if we have this kind of intention, I don't want to attain enlightenment until I'm sure everybody else is safe. Actually, we become closer to enlightenment by having that intention. And, there are other paradoxes that we mentioned, like, when the Buddha was on that ship of 500 traders, and he saw one of the traders wanted to kill all the others and steal all the wealth for himself. So the Buddha, who's in his previous life as a bodhisattva, he saw that the only way to resolve the situation was to kill this guy himself. So he thought, it's terrible karma to kill another human being intentionally like that, but I need to do it to stop him creating that negative karma and to stop the suffering of all the others. So even though it will cause me to be reborn in hell for countless eons, I don't care about myself. I'm going to take this action to benefit these others, that person and all the others. So he killed him. But as a result of that action, because of his pure motivation, instead of being born in the lower realms and getting further from enlightenment, he actually was reborn in another life as a bodhisattva and became closer to enlightenment. So there's that one. And there's a paradox of the yogis who pray to be reborn in their next life in the hells in order to benefit others, and they mean it sincerely, knowing much better than we do the suffering of the hell realms. Still, they're brave enough to want to be reborn in hell in order to benefit others, the hell beings, and as a result, they're reborn in a pure land. So I asked His Holiness a question related to that at one point. I took my mother to meet His Holiness to Dharamsala in 77, and she got a private interview with him, which was a little easier to do. His Holiness was always very accommodating to meet the parents of the Dharma students, the Western Dharma students who were living and studying in India in those days. So a lot of people got to introduce their parents to His Holiness. It was easier then than it is now. And I forget the exact question, but it was something like, why does a bodhisattva make a vow that he knows can't be fulfilled, the vow to be reborn in the lower realms in order to benefit sentient beings. And just by making that vow, it kind of ensures that he won't be born in the lower realms. So how do you get your mind around to make it sincere rather than, well, if I if I make this vow, pretending that I want to be reborn in the lower realms, that'll save me from being reborn in the lower realms. So if you have that kind of tricky motivation, I don't think it's going to work. So it's hard to have really pure motivation for us. The next verse, verse 30, I'm not going to get to the end of the chapter. I shall purify limitless, inconceivable lands and remain in the 10 directions for all those who call my name. This verse summarizes the ethical discipline of creating virtue. So remember the 3 kinds of practice of morality: to abstain from giving harm, to work for others, and to create virtue, merit. In his Golden Rosary of Good Explanation, a commentary on Maitreya's Ornament for Clear Realization, Lekshi Setreng, is it called? Lekshi Setreng. I don't know if it's been translated. Explains that bodhisattvas should refrain from entering a state of nirvana from which they will not arise again until they've fully gained the power to accomplish their aspirations, to ripen living beings by ensuring their well-being, and to create Buddha lands by preparing their own. So that's what Lama Tsongkhapa explains in that text. Bodhisattvas should refrain from entering a state of nirvana from which they will not arise again until they've fully gained the power to accomplish their aspirations, to ripen living beings by ensuring their well-being, and to create Buddha lands by preparing their own. So Lama, there, Lama, in that commentary on the Abhisamaya Lankara, Lama Tsongkhapa says that purifying the mind is the same as creating Buddha lands. Here we vow to prepare countless Buddha lands so that they may be endowed with limitless good qualities. We resolve to be there for and gradually lead to happiness those in lands throughout the 10 directions who call our name, see, hear, remember, or touch us, by helping them to overcome wrongdoing and to accumulate positive energy. Will all living beings one day gain freedom from cyclic existence? All have the potential to be free because they have Buddha nature, because their minds have the innate potential to shed all limitations and stains and to develop infinitely. If I have that potential, I cannot say that the next person or any other living creature does not. However, we find very little discussion of what it will be like when living beings are all liberated and cyclic existence stops completely. The emphasis is on how each of us can gain freedom and how we can help others to free themselves. I think my question of His Holiness was, not what I said, or maybe I also asked that, but in terms of a bodhisattva making a vow to enlighten all sentient beings, I think I said sentient beings are sort of enlightened one by one. You know, you reach enlightenment, I reach enlightenment. But there are infinite sentient beings So when one reaches enlightenment, there are still infinite sentient beings. So how is it possible to enlighten all sentient beings if even 1 or 50 or 100 are enlightened? There are still infinite sentient beings. You can't have infinity minus 1 or infinity minus 100. So that's a bodhisattva making a vow that can't be fulfilled. I think that was something. I can't remember the answer. Let's just see what Geshe Lama Rinpoche says. So we find very little discussion on what it'll be like when all sentient beings have been enlightened. The emphasis on how each of us can gain freedom and how we can help others free themselves. The thing is, when we reach enlightenment, we see all past, present, and future simultaneously, sort of like as clearly as we see the palm of our hand. So then, if we see all the future, then we can see the time when all sentient beings are fully enlightened. And I think at the moment we think, sequentially, or in terms of progressive time, yesterday, today, tomorrow, next year. So that's a kind of a conventional, relative way of thinking. I think when we realize ultimate nature, we transcend, time and space and all this kind of ordinary ways of thinking that we have now. But that, how a Buddha really sees things is beyond our comprehension and probably beyond explanation. So I think we have to have faith that it will happen, and then we'll understand. We can renew the bodhisattva vow daily. As long as it's intact, we create tremendous positive energy day and night. Chandragoman says that it is so momentous when someone develops the altruistic intention that the seats of enlightened beings shake. Just as a great monarch is overjoyed at the birth of an heir, Buddhas are filled with joy when a bodhisattva comes into being. For the presence of bodhisattvas ensures that their line will continue. They make prayers that the new bodhisattva may easily and successfully fulfill his or her aims and wishes. Simply arousing the altruistic intention, even if it does not come naturally, is the finest offering we can make to the Buddhas. In order to receive the bodhisattva vow properly, we should actually have the altruistic intention. Then to keep the vow, we must maintain the 3 kinds of ethical discipline of a bodhisattva. So there was one time in the 70s when Lama Zopa Rinpoche went, I think, to Missouri, up in the mountains, to do a retreat. And then when he finished, Lama Yeshe went to bring him back to Kopan, or to accompany him back to Kopan. And Sister Max, Mummy Max, the Black American nun who supported Kopan in those early years and made sure that everything the Lamas wanted happened. Mummy Max. So she was the mother of Kopan, and she supported the place financially and in other ways. So she said that Lama said to her after he met Rinpoche and I guess talked about the retreat, or I don't know what happened exactly, but he said, "Mummy, now we really have a baby Buddha," referring to Rinpoche. So I don't know whether that meant that Rinpoche had realized bodhicitta or emptiness. I mean, for us, he was already a Buddha. So you kind of have to weigh the theoretical pure view of seeing the Guru as a Buddha with the conventional view that he's doing his meditations and attaining realizations. It was said that whenever a sentient being realizes bodhicitta, actually the earth shakes. Okay, so that's, I think we have to stop here. So we'll start next time, verse 31, unless I find some other distraction. Okay, so thanks everybody. We generate bodhicitta. We've been talking about developing bodhicitta, so we really created an enormous amount of merit. So we need to dedicate that before we have a chance to destroy it through getting angry or through developing wrong views. So think, because of this merit, visualize a huge mountain of merit. Because of this merit, may I quickly reach enlightenment for the sole purpose of enlightening all sentient beings. So, strongly dedicate with bodhicitta like that. Remembering, that what they call the circle of the three, the person who's dedicating the merit itself, the action of dedicating merit and the merit itself are all empty of inherent existence. That, where illusory person is doing the illusory action of dedicating the illusory merit. Nothing exists as it appears to our senses. Okay, thanks, Bob.
Saji perki jiking me tok tram ri rabling jini de gin padi sange jing du mikte orwagi drokun mam dak jing lancher parshog jetun mame kotse rab tin ching nam katrin le chok churge padang mo sang ten pedrin me sasungi drowe mun sel tak tu negyu chig idam guru ratna mandalakam niryatayami. A short, long life prayer for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. In that snow-mountain encircled land, source of every benefit and joy, may Lord Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig remain in life till samsara's end. Savior of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings who extensively clarifies the path that unifies emptiness and compassion. To the lotus in the hand, Lord Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be fulfilled. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Mahayana's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Through this virtue, may I swiftly, having gained Guru Buddha's state, place each and every sentient being without exception in that state. Precious supreme Bodhi mind, may I where unborn arise and where born never decline, but increase forevermore. Dong Chen Ke Pe Su Yen Song Kapa Lo Sa Pe Javla Solwa De. Thank you, Nick.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Bob.
See you next week. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Remember bodhicitta.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.